So I am super excited right now to talk to you about what I just witnessed. This is something that you should definitely witness for yourself, and go on to Twitter probably to see a redo of this video that Elon Musk has just done of him with version 12 driving around the streets of Palo Alto. I had to wait for over an hour and a half for this to actually take place. And there's a few things that come out of this that you want to know about. This is Randy Kirk. Hit like, subscribe. Tomorrow morning, you got Larry Goldberg will be on with me. We're going to talk all about stuff that happened this last week. I'm sorry that I got confused about the Cathie Wood. That is next Friday. So that's what we'll be doing next week. But I'm still having Larry on in the morning. But full self-driving, hit Patreon. Obviously, you want to do that. Full self-driving, we know that's the key. We know that's the next big thing. That we know that's what's really going to rocket the stock. Well, I just witnessed Elon driving around Palo Alto in a Model S doing version 12. And there was several things that came out of that I think are worth talking about. Number one, it was extremely smooth. We watched him drive around cars and pedestrians and roundabouts and left turns and right turns and everything else, going to random places. He just pick a random place on the map and go to the random place. While he's driving, he's telling us about version 12, and there's a couple of things about it that are quite intriguing. One is that that is 100% end-to-end neural net trained. So no longer is there any heuristic. There's no longer any hard coding that is either dealing with what you're seeing and how the car is reacting, or even at the other end, it's not determining how fast the car goes or how it turns or how it brakes or anything else. Every single aspect of how the car is working now from end to end is based on training, based on human responses in these exact situations, no hard coding at all. So you can imagine how much smoother that would make things if you're now learning from human activity with regard to how the wheel is turned, with regard to how the brakes are applied, with regard to how the accelerator is pushed down and let up in order to create faster or slower on a electric car. So that's huge. It's completely different than what we're used to on the existing FSD, completely different than anything anybody else is doing or contemplating doing. Then that same thing is going to be true of what happens when you're driving it. There is no hard coding of what is a red light, what is a stop sign, what is a pedestrian, what is a bicycle, what is a guy on a scooter, what is a car in front of you. None of that is hard coded. All of it now is based on video training. Lots and lots and lots of video being processed into the system, into all those NVIDIA chips, and to some extent into Dojo as well, he said on the call. And so it's 100% training. In fact, he talked about a situation where I don't know whether it was the feds or this, I think it was the feds who said, you know what, you have to stop completely at stop signs. And he says it turns out that less than 0.5% of people stop completely at stop signs, but the regulators insisted on it. So that had to be hard coded in because they couldn't there was no training. How are you going to train it? Okay, so you had to dumb it down in order to make it act a little less human for that specific requirement of the regulators. Otherwise, everything is being done by training. The car went around, I would say, while I was watching, I finally checked out because I wanted to get this video up so you all could see it tonight. He went around, I think, about 5 roundabouts. Now, you know how hard a roundabout is. You've been on them, and you also know how hard they are with FSD. Very, very difficult. The car is herky-jerky. It can't quite figure out what to do usually. One of the hardest things that you can do is go around the roundabout. Well, he went around all 5 roundabouts. I mean, there was no interruption. There was no difficulty. Some of them were very busy. Some of them weren't. Sometimes they got off at the very first. Sometimes they had to go all the way around to like number 3 or number 4. Didn't matter. In every single case, it handled the roundabouts perfectly. And Elon explained that was just by putting in lots and lots and lots of footage about roundabouts. It did have one interruption. I would say I watched about 25 minutes of him driving through the city of Palo Alto, across campuses, in residential neighborhoods, through parking construction zones with lots and lots of cones, all of that. He had one interruption that he had to do where it was in the straight ahead lane in a red light where there was also a left turn lane. And for some reason, the car decided when the left turn light turned to green that it should go. And so he had to interrupt on that one. But 20 minutes, that was the only interruption. So obviously it's not 100% perfect yet, or maybe we would already have it. We would already be driving off of this, but it was incredibly, you could just tell it was way smoother. It was way more human-like. And it was incredible to think about the fact that this was not being coded. This was not being designed. This was 100% being done off of video. And so you can imagine that you just feed it enough video. You just keep feeding it video. You can have it. You can create, simulations as well in order to teach it how to do things. But it's end to end. The videos are not only for the visual part of it, but also the human way that the steering wheels turn and the rest of the activity is done is all being done by neural net training. So end to end. So anyway, incredible. A very big jump forward, massive jump forward. Does that mean we're going to see FSD in a month or 2 months or 4 months? Don't know, because you obviously had this one intervention. You can't have any interventions, and you can't have any safety issues, and you're probably going to have to drive it 100,000 miles to be sure. So maybe there'll be a release to 50,000 out of the 400,000. I don't know how it's going to work, but that is, I wanted to bring you that as quickly as possible. Now let's take a look at the rest of the good news this week. First of all, the initial response to Powell's speech was about right. The market heard, the market was like flat after the speech was done for quite a while, for several minutes, 10 minutes even. The market was saying, oh, that's a nothing burger. Then I think some of the analysts start calling it hawkish, and there was headlines that it was hawkish, and the market tanked, except for Tesla. Then finally, folks saw the speech or read it for themselves, or other analysts, and then the market came back and finished okay for the day. Tesla led in the way that even the president of the United States would have to be able to understand. Now, why did Tesla lead all day? Okay, so that's a big question. This is a big week. We finished the week. The Fed got through their thing. There was up days and down days. It was a difficult week. We are facing the consumer product, the PCE next week. I'm getting it backwards now all the time. The PCE next week. We're facing that. That's the only real last barrier to having the markets, I think, the second leg of the bull be firmly in there. So we might have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday. We might see some hesitation, but I think people understand inflation is done. I am now going to repeat. I'm sorry to repeat this, but last week I said it. I want to say this again. It is so important. I want you to hear it. Jeremy Siegel, Wharton professor and popular financial analyst, he says that recent statistics are a vast improvement from last year, when the economy was hiring nearly 5 million new workers and the GDP grew less than 1%. That was a reflection of poor productivity in the economy, Siegel said, a trend that has since turned around. So think about it. You hire 5 million new people and the economy only grows 1%. It was the worst, he says this, now listen to this, it was the worst productivity performance in over 70 years. This year, we are hiring at less than half the pace, and we have done 2 to 3 times the level of GDP growth. Why is that? One of the biggest bounce backs in productivity I have ever seen, he told CNBC on Friday, and that's saving Jay Powell. That's why we have this tremendous GDP growth and still have a disinflationary trend. Did you hear that? This is what I've been saying over and over and over and over again. It's about productivity. Of course, the amount of money you print is important. Of course, the ability of people to be able to buy all the treasuries that the Fed is that the Treasury is throwing at them is important. Of course, there are issues like supply chains and interruptions by war and whatnot that affect the inflation factor. But the number one thing that produces wealth in a company, a country, the world is productivity. And the number one thing, if you have the more productivity that you have, the less inflation, or you're even going to go to deflation, and it's good deflation, is the kind of things that make people rich. All right, Dan Ives says today, charging stations will create 10 to 20 billion. You know who Dan Ives is, right? He's I'm going to forget which company he's with. I can probably think of it in a minute. But anyway, he's an analyst, a very respected analyst, and a Tesla bull. He says the charging stations will be creating 10 to 20 billion in revenue by 2030. Elon has said they will have a 10% net profit. Larry Goldberg has been beating me to death about this being a great income source, and he and I will discuss this in detail tomorrow, but you can see where that would be. If Dan Ives is right, it would be $1 billion to $2 billion per year in profit by 2030. I think that's probably an understatement. It doesn't take into consideration some of the other ways that these will make money. Now, Ives is a Tesla bull. His rating share is a buy. His price target is $350 a share. That's one of the highest on Wall Street. And that works out to about 73 times his 2024 earnings estimate of $480 a share. Since you and I both know, if you watch my video later today, that 2024 will be at least $530 a share. And that's probably really low compared to what it's going to be with Cybertruck and everything else. That means $350. His $350 is a slam dunk. Of course, my video earlier today, I said that we will be at all-time high 410 in January of next year. So I say his 350 will be not in 12 months. His 350 will be in about 4 months before the end of the year. All right. Tesla ranked, this is the next story. Tesla ranked #1 in the J.D. Power 2023 U.S. Tech Experience Study, and it was #1 by a lot. This is the experience that people reported with regard to how they like their technical product. And in this particular case, it's in the automotive division. I'm not going to go deeply into this headline because you won't find the headline. You'll only find the headline with me or, with people in the Tesla community, because Tesla doesn't provide J.D. Power with the names, phone numbers, et cetera, of their customers like the other manufacturers do. And so they can't use the same approach to polling those individuals as they do with the other manufacturers. Therefore, the Tesla results are an asterisk. But the asterisk is, they're like, it's way out there. They're so much better than any other company. Some of the other startups like Polestar and et cetera are the ones that also did well. The regular companies did not do so well. You want to call it the old guard, the General Motors, the Volkswagens, the Toyotas did horrible because why? They don't have software teams. All right. Taking a look back at this week, fans are focused heavily on Cybertruck and Highland, though Elon did keep FSD in the spotlight by teasing that live stream that I just watched. It was supposed to be earlier today. It took him a couple of hours to get out of a meeting. This is going to be a big piece of news tomorrow. You do want to see that video. I will track it down and put it in the information below. Now, it is hard to know how much of the current Tesla stock price is front-running the Cybertruck and or the Highland. I suspect there's a little bit of front-running for the Cybertruck and probably almost none for the Highland. If I didn't understand the significance of the Highland, I didn't understand it until Brian White explained it to me. That means that most of even our community is probably still clueless unless they're listening to Brian or listening to me. Most people don't get that there is a big demand for that kind of car if it is at the right price, and it appears that it might be coming down in price. Now, there was also got to be some FOMO, some fear of missing out, starting with the CT. And that could have been part of why you saw Tesla disengage from the rest of the market today and go up quite nicely when the rest of the tech stocks were not doing so well. In fact, in some cases down. Even after hours, Tesla was still up, and almost all the other Magnificent Seven were down. NVIDIA was down sharply today and sharply in the after hours. So my gut is that that there's a possibility that there could be a run-up to when the actual announcement takes place or when the actual handoff takes place. Then you could have a sell on the news. However, I've mentioned this before, there's going to be 5 phases to this rollout. There's going to be the announcement, then there's going to be the prices and specs, the initial handover, the first customer handovers, and then the reviews. All of those things are going to have their own life. So even if we have a little sell-off on one or other of these events, then it'll pick up again, waiting for the next part. By December, we'll also be talking about the ramp. How fast is the ramp taking place? Because it's a completely new vehicle, nothing like it ever been done before. Will this mean that it takes a lot longer to ramp, or will the ramp go smoothly? So anyway, maybe that's part of why it was going up today. Some of the most foolish investors, even the most foolish investors, have to know that the Cybertruck is going to have a significant impact on revenues, profits, and the overall perception of the company. Therefore, it could be already moving the stock, especially as some risk on comes back into the marketplace and people start taking their money out of those money markets and start spending it on equities. Okay, there's been a bit of a change on the Tesla website. They used to show the sticker price, and then later on, as you were going into it, it would show you how much you would get on the federal IRA savings and also gasoline savings. And then you could go even deeper and find out what you could save in various states. Now they're showing right on the homepage, they're showing the net price after the federal IRA savings come out and after the gasoline savings. You're seeing the net price as being the main price. And then there's an asterisk underneath saying that that is the price after tax rebate and gas savings. Big difference, good marketing, good decision. All right. Any softness in the past week was probably due to some demand and production questions. Troy Teslike showed some stats yesterday and today about the production in Austin and Fremont that looks as if there has been some reduction in throughput. We've heard rumors from the disreputable source Business Insider that Berlin is also not firing on all cylinders. Shanghai, on the other hand, continues to show really good results. With only 5 weeks to go in the quarter, we still haven't seen a major slowdown. But I think that we will, of course, see lower production numbers, which is what Elon said. And if you look at my video earlier today, you'll see how I understand that and my perception of what that's going to be. Last thing on the list here today, Truflation headed back down for the first time in a few days, maybe even a week or two. Food and beverages moved down. That's a very good sign, because the next thing that's going to move down is going to be gas, as I've mentioned again in the video earlier today. So if you didn't see the videos early today, there is a card right there for the one that was just a few hours ago that talked about my price targets for Tesla over the next 5 months. And then the one from earlier this morning that talked about the Fed and what happened with the Fed in great detail. There's the card for that one. And in the morning, you're going to want to hit notify. You want to absolutely be sure that you see Larry and I. Now, that's probably going to be about 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific. It's about when, maybe even a little later, 11. Yes, no, that's about when it'll be. You're going to definitely want to see that. He and I are going to kick it around on a whole bunch of subjects, including some surprises, some new things that you're not aware of. And we'll definitely be kicking around this video that I just was talking to you about. So don't forget, I'll try to find that video and put it in the information below. Join Patreon. I could use some more help on Patreon. I got another member today. So we're trying to hit that 215. 115 members. We're about, boy, it's been a very long day. 125 members by the end of the month. We're 15 short. We only have about, less than a week to go. So please help out. I'm going to need a couple of days in order to get there. Remember, you get a free audiobook. You get your choice of any one of the four for a $5 membership, and 2 of those 4 audiobooks if you join at the $10 level. And of course, you can buy those books on Amazon if you wish to. That's always a possibility. All right, that's it for today. What an exciting way to end a Friday that started out with a lot of excitement too, and been exciting all day long. It's been great talking to you.